They say, learn like you're going to live forever and live like you're going to die tomorrow.
I literally went home and I was like, I'm just going to Google, like, how do you make nail polish? And that is really where it started.
I make them. I make them all at home. So I buy the individual nail polish base.
Today's guest is a phenomenal one. She's already been on Dragon's Den. We want to find out all about it and her journey. So welcome to the podcast, Natel.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes. You're always smiling, you are.
I know. I think it's just like my permanent face structure. Yeah, even if I'm sad, I'm happy. So, yeah.
How's your morning been?
Do you know what? Not too bad. Woke up and, yeah, just kind of handled business. And now I'm here.
Yes. You're doing quite a few things at the moment.
I have always had my hands in many different pots at the minute. So, yeah, it's chaos, but it's also an opportunity, and I try and make the most of every day.
And what makes you be that person? Because you've always been on the go, you.
I have. I think honestly, it's really hard to kind of put into words, but I'd probably say I know the kind of future that I want to try and build for myself, and that's kind of, I think, what gets me out of bed every morning. And once you start doing something, it's very hard to stop after you start getting the momentum.
Mm-hmm. What makes you so driven? Because
So,
there's so many people
yeah.
like get up and go, oh, what am I doing today? Or just gonna go and do my job, gonna see Tracy down the road, gonna have a little cuppa, I'll be back, I do my chores, and that's it. Like, they're just happy in that loop.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But what motivates? What's that little spark in your head, Natel, that you're like, I've got to do something and I've got to have a focus and I've got to build?
So I think it's growing up. Grew up in East London. I was born in East London. My mum, dad, and two brothers. I wouldn't say I had love. I grew up in a house, so compared to a lot of people, I'd probably say I'm very fortunate in that regard. But Newham is still one of the poorest boroughs. I feel like my parents did a very good job of not necessarily hiding the fact that we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. They made it feel like we could do whatever we wanted, even though they probably struggled to do it. So I think it's that growing up in that kind of life and seeing my dad had like 3 businesses. So he basically had a driving company, and he used to work for British Gas as well. That was like one of his main jobs. And he had a driving like where they teach you to drive kind of school as well.
Okay.
And so he did all of those 3. And so he was kind of just a very hard worker. And then my mum also was a nurse, and she used to work for London Chest Hospital. So very, very much kind of night shifts working in the hospital. So even though, we obviously had an income, I think they had to work very, very hard. So I think in my mind, it's kind of just been drummed in that I have to work hard to get what I want. So
Yeah. So do you think, like, because you've seen that environment around you, was it like, that's normal now? I need to set up businesses and be working.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd always been very inspired by my dad. He used to involve me a lot in some of the things that he did. So one of the other things he did was filming weddings. So he did a lot of things.
Can you start with what your dad didn't do?
Do you know what? We would be here for a while, but he was very, very motivated. And, even in terms of like filming the weddings, he used to get me to design the covers. So I was really good at PowerPoint from like the age of like 6 or 7. And this before everyone really had computers.
Child labour.
He used to pay me £1 per cover, which obviously was a lot of money in the day. But it taught me a little bit about kind of doing things yourself and kind of knowing how to do it. And, the video cassette covers are like, it's just one side of A4, but I would use all of the word art to make it look really pretty. So yeah, it was from there, I think.
Well, you can definitely see some of your successes. I was so proud because for those of you who don't know, me and Natel actually worked in McDonald's together.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Dagenham, always,
I think you were like 16, I was like 19, 20. But there were some good times, huh?
Oh, McDonald's was fun. Like, hands down, I would think in terms of an experience, McDonald's was a great place to work. But it also taught me a lot. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if we're talking customer service, especially in Dagenham.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mate, you having a burger thrown at you, mate.
Burgers, I've seen
what the hell is this,
thrown.
mate?
I've seen, like, sauces being thrown. Like,
there was drama.
Drama.
Always drama. What was it like being on Dragon's Den?
Oh, my God. Dragon's Den... I really try hard to emote exactly everything that happened. It was chaotic. It was stressful. It was obviously it's an amazing opportunity, an amazing experience. So when I obviously received an email. I was like, "Hey, do you want to be on Dragon's Den?" But
How did they reach out to you? You reached out
so
to them or apply?
basically, I still had to like go through an application process, but they have like researchers, I think, who just kind of find interest in businesses and just kind of maybe email just to say, "Hey, have you ever thought about applying for Dragon's Den?" So I received that email. So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna apply." So you still have to go through like kind of different screenings, and you've got to do like different, submit an application, submit your business plan, everything like that. So, but it just started from that initial email. I would probably never had applied if I hadn't got that email. I would have much preferred to be on The Apprentice because I feel like you have a longer time span to show yourself.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing opportunity, so I couldn't say no. But I think what a lot of people don't know about Dragon's Den is the amount of prep work it takes. So I probably received that email maybe February 2022 and didn't film until June. So that's already kind of a good solid 4-5 months of just getting paperwork in, getting accounts up to date, getting, documents to confirm, legality of the business, etc. All of that together. And, up until the day before I was filming, I was still very much sending emails of my accounts to make sure they were up to date, because you can't say anything on TV that's not been shown in document proof. So it's just you have to be very, very careful in collecting all of that information and getting that together. And then that's kind of one half of it. And then you're also planning the physical element. Obviously, I had 2 models, so I had to dress them. I had to get their nails done. I had to figure out what I was going to wear. I have to decide what boxes, what colors I'm going to take with me, how I'm going to display everything. Even down to the music for the girls to walk out on the catwalk. That's all stuff that I had to think about putting together. So, yeah, doing all of that on your own as well is, it's a process.
Yeah. So did you have to practice a lot on your pitch?
Yeah, so by the time it got to actually being on Dragon's Den, I think I'd rehearsed my pitch so much that I knew everything off by heart. But the pitch that I delivered on Dragon's Den was very similar to the one that I did for the audition. So pretty much the audition was maybe around April and then filmed in June. So I had 2 months to really get it down in terms of what I needed to know and the figures as well.
Was it scary being in front of all these multi-millionaire, billionaire people?
Absolutely. It's more not necessarily them as people, because I think they will all understand being in that position and standing there. But I've watched Dragon's Den for years. I love Dragon's Den. It's one of my favorite programs to watch, and it's just making sure, one, that I knew the numbers, because I know what it's like to be there and suddenly forget everything. And I just wanted to prove that I could hold it together and that I could answer the questions and I can come back with good, honest, and solid answers as well. So it wasn't so much them that scared me. I think they were really nice in some regards. Obviously, Tuka is a different story, but everybody, I wouldn't say they made me feel comfortable, because obviously it's Dragon's Den. You're not meant to feel comfortable. But I felt confident in what I knew. And yeah, but it was still very scary because you don't want to mess up. You only get one chance. Everything that you saw there, it's a shortened clip, so you see 12 minutes of it, and I was probably in there for about an hour. But in that time, you're literally on go. There's no retakes, there's no nothing. It is very much everything that you see is a live clip. So
Who was your favorite judge?
I really liked Peter. Peter, I felt, had some good constructive criticism that I took on and actually utilised that information. Deborah definitely had some nice things to say. I feel like Sarah actually would have been probably my preferred judge between her and Deborah, mainly because Sarah does have quite a lot of knowledge in the industry. She was wearing like a really nice glossy red nail polish that day as well. So, I remember certain things. Yeah, of course, I have to look and see. And I know that Deborah doesn't really indulge in nail polish anymore. So it's just something that I had thought about. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a lot more about Tell Moi, but I want to know a little bit about, did you just wake up one day and went, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
No, it's probably what happened. No.
So let's go back to school.
Yeah.
You're in secondary school now. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What's going in your mind? You're doing little bits and bobs for your dad, earning a little quid here and there. Yeah. How is Natel growing up? Has she done any more side hustles?
So I would say no, actually. In school, I was very much focused on education. I really enjoyed studying lots of different subjects. So I had my favorites, and I feel like I guess that was about me learning about myself and what I enjoyed. Like for A level, I picked up 2 languages. So I did French and Spanish, and I did psychology and history. So very diverse topics. So to kind of then end up doing a business degree, it was very much, is this what you want to do? I remember watching Legally Blonde as I was younger. It's one of my favorite films, and I wanted to become a lawyer after that. So I ended up adding law to my degree. So law was definitely something I was potentially passionate about and was going to go into. But I don't know. I think at the last minute I got a little bit, oh, I'm not sure if this is for me, and I'm not sure if that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I kept it as part of my degree. But I had always enjoyed business, and I think it was around then that I knew I wanted to do something in business. I just didn't know what.
So what sort of deterred you going into sort of law? Because there's a lot of young people out there that are saying, I really don't know what I want to do, and I don't even know why I'm doing this course.
Yeah.
How do you know whether to go deeper into it, or if you're thinking, I'm going to end up wasting my time here?
Do you know what? I still think even now, I possibly, every day I wake up, I'm like, should I just quit everything and go into law? So, yeah, I don't think you'll ever truly know exactly what it is you want to do. And I've never wanted to limit myself. And I think that's one thing that I've always been very strict on with myself, is not to ever limit myself to just one thing. I know that a lot of people specialize, and that's good because, you become a lawyer and then you can, you've got a very kind of direct career path. But it's not, I enjoy doing lots of many different things. I've never kind of just fixed to one thing. I love nail polishes, but I'm also talented in other areas as well. So, and I always thought that in my mind, my dad did so many different faceted things that why should I limit myself? Because you can make money in a lot of different areas. So
I love that. I love that. Do you believe that, you're a product of your environment?
100%, yeah. I think, I had, I say have. My dad passed away when I was 11, but my mum is still here. But I have amazing parents. They taught me very, very well. They loved us, me and my brothers, and I think we've all turned out, hopefully, really, really well in their eyes. So I think it's a product of their love and their support for us, because they support me in anything I do.
That's beautiful to hear. So as you went through university, is that when you started working at McDonald's as well?
Yeah, so I'd actually started working at McDonald's when I was in sixth form. So I was 16. It was my very first job. I had to choose between there or Primark, and McDonald's ironically paid more at the time. And it was closer to my house.
You made the right choice, mate.
It was a good job. And so I was there for about a year and a half before I went off to uni. We go off when you're like 18, yeah. So just turned 18. So I actually continued working at McDonald's whilst I was at uni for the first year.
In the same one,
In the
Dagenham,
same
or
one. So I used to come back home every weekend. So
Oh wow.
McDonald's actually was because it was my first job, I used that job to save up for a car. And so that was like my first major purchase. So I brought a little Ford KA.
Oh, that was my first car too.
It's a good first car. It's a good runaround. So that Ford KA, I had it pretty much as I went off to uni, and I was really lucky at the time because I don't know how many universities allow you to park there now, but I was able to take my car with me to uni. So every Friday night at like 11 o'clock, so I used to wait until it got really quiet, drive my car back to Dagenham and stay at my mum's house for the weekend and work on the weekend shifts.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. So after McDonald's, what was the next step?
So whilst I was at uni and studying, I enjoyed McDonald's. It was a good, flexible job. I would come back, I'd do like a full shift on a Saturday and a morning shift on the Sunday, so I had enough time to go back to uni. But at kind of like a year and a half in, I was like, right, I need to really try and pivot and get kind of an office-based job, because I just felt that I wasn't going to get any experience in the level that I feel like I needed to. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. I think whilst I was at uni, I still was kind of looking at the options of maybe doing kind of commercial law, like kind of contracts and kind of the business side of law. So I knew I needed, even if it was just an office job, some sort of experience in that industry. So halfway through my second year, I started applying for jobs and looking for different opportunities, and I ended up working for Kingston Council. So I was doing housing benefit overpayment recovery. So basically just getting money back from people who've been paid too much benefits.
That sounds fine.
No one wants to give that money back. So it was It was a good job to have, though. It was a good learning curve, and they really liked me. They asked me if I wanted to stay on after uni because I kept that until then. But obviously, commuting back from Dagenham to Kingston just didn't make sense after a while. So that's when I left the council.
Okay. And so you graduated when you're 21?
Yes. Yeah.
And so what did you end up doing? So you're like, the whole world's in front of me now.
Got my
What's Natel
degree.
doing?
So I had a bit of a pause for a minute. So after I left the council job, I started thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? And recruitment consultancy, my cousin worked in it, and that was something I was thinking that I really want to get into. But every time I spoke to a recruiter or a company, they're like, you don't have any sales experience. You don't have any sales experience. So I started looking at entry level sales positions. And that is basically how I got Foxtons.
Yes. So the next part of our journey is I think I went to a viewing or I got a call from somebody and it was Natel. I was like,
Yep.
I know you. We worked in McDonald's together. And she's like, well, I'm selling this house. I was like, well, I want to buy the house. So I don't know if we ended up doing a deal, but I was like, wow, like, you know.
From McDonald's to Foxtons. Yeah, it was. Do you know what? And because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, recruitment consultancy, get some sales experience. I remember going to the interview for Foxtons and they have it in Chiswick. And obviously I live in Dagenham, so it literally is one end of the district line to the other. I said to my brother that day, because I can't remember why, I think my car was in, I think it was being repaired or something. And I said, if you drop me to the station, I'll go to this interview. And to my mind, I wasn't actually going to go because it was so far away. He dropped me to the station. So then I actually went to the interview, and actually it was probably the best decision for me. It was a really good interview that's very different to any interview I'd ever done before.
Okay.
It was very much like a mixer.
How? Like,
Yeah, it was kind of like you go into a room. You do have like a formal interview afterwards, but you go into a room, they give you a presentation on, who Foxtons are, what they do, and, just a bit of information on the salary and, the kind of good things, I guess, benefits that they have. But then you end the presentation and then everyone is just mixing in the room. It's just like almost like a gathering or, after a business meeting, like a business soiree, almost like you've got drinks, you go around and talking to people and you're getting to know each of the different managers for each of the different offices and just having chats with them. And then they kind of pull you out one by one. And the managers are very much the ones of the district managers of the branches. So obviously I met like the East District manager, had a chat with him, had an interview, and that was a lot more formal. But it felt very much almost like an X Factor style, like we're going to pick you and have this chat. But it was a really good opportunity because it kind of tests your networking skills. And I felt that that was something that is very important when it comes to selling. So I thought it was a great interview for the style of role it was.
See, look, these days, I don't know if you see it as well, but I see a lot of antisocial people. And I think COVID's really affected a lot of people also. Being locked up in their own houses, not having that communication. And I know I can even see some kids who can't even make eye contact. Like, it feels like it's a dying sort of instinct that we have. What would you say about that? Because there are sort of certain customer facing sort of roles that we need to be good at to shake your hand, do a deal, have something in common. I know I go to a lot of networking events, and that's how we do more business. But a lot of kids, are in this other little sort of trance to say, what can be done about that? What advice would you give?
I mean, don't let the fact that I talk a lot fool you. I can sometimes still go to a networking event and just stand there and just want to be on my phone. You have to really think about the benefits of speaking to people and also not look at the fact that it might be scary. Look at what you can maybe get from the conversation because there's so many conversations that had I not entertained or had would not have put me where I am right now. So you kind of, I hate to say just get over the fear of doing it, but you kind of have to look for the benefit in it. And most people are generally really nice. I think what you'll find actually is anyone that you kind of randomly stop or have a conversation with, the majority of people are very friendly, very welcoming and nice and engaging. And you can start a conversation about anything. In England, we always talk about the weather. If you really are nervous, start with the weather and then move on to something else. But it's just about potentially what you could get out of that conversation. And everyone has their story and everyone has something that you never know might contribute to what it is that you're doing at the moment. So keep that in mind, but also don't let, COVID kind of affect the way that we still need people. I think if anything from COVID, I learned that, I live on my own. So being indoors all the time and just being me on my own, you need people. So yeah, use them.
How was the experience at Foxtons? So you're at one of the, prestige estate agents, should we say? They charge top fees, etc. You guys
They
all
do.
look like bloody models and, Ken and Barbie sort of coming in, all
Always with the heels, yeah.
smelling, telling you guys, what was it like on the inside? Because for us landlords, sometimes we call agents dogs. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, because they're just always after us. They want to charge us for this contract. When they do anything, they want to charge an arm and leg for it.
Yeah.
Like it's one of them relationships sometimes you don't get along with. I mean, I've got some really good agents as well
Yeah.
who, they feed me a lot. We feed each other.
Mhm.
But estate agents have that sort of stigma. What was it like?
They've got a very bad rep, they do. I personally really enjoyed working at Fox, and I know that everyone will be like, really? Sales environment? But I think the office I was in really did help. It's Stratford. Stratford's very diverse as an area. I think actually the team was very diverse. I really enjoyed that element of it. Um, I loved it, but I would say that it's still a tough sales environment. And from a financial point of view, there are times where you make great amounts of money, especially if you're on the higher level of commission. But there's times where you could walk home with, £800. I think the lowest I ever got paid in a month was £800.
800.
800 for 1 month's worth.
So are you was it heavily commissioned?
Yeah, so at that point, so they had different stages at the time. I think it's now changed, but you could have a very high basic salary, but very low commission. So it meant that if you were selling lots of houses, you weren't really benefiting from selling so much. So at the point when I took home 800, I was on the lowest basic salary. So it was maybe like £10,000, I think, a year at the time.
Wow.
But the commission was like 10% of the percentage fee that Foxtons get. And obviously, Foxtons charge a higher fee, or at the time charged a higher fee than other agents. So when you're selling properties, you're getting a really good commission. So
Was that the right decision?
in terms of going to that basic salary.
Yeah.
For me, I was living at home, so I could afford to do certain things like that. However, the time when I started to really feel it, and actually one of the things that kind of pushed me to leave was when I bought my first property. And
Okay.
at that time, I know that I couldn't necessarily just survive on £800 a month. And whilst the month before I might have made a crazy amount of money, it's like you have to be very regulated in how you're getting it. And there was nothing to say that I couldn't get an £800 month salary the next month as well, because it all relies on people's decision making. If you see a house that you like, you're going to pull out of the deal. I can't make you buy a house that you don't want. So, and especially if you find a better deal elsewhere, I can't make you do anything. So that's my salary walking out with you. So
Yes. Tell us about your first property deal in terms of the one that you bought.
mhm.
Where did you find that?
So I found it in Dagenham, but
Okay.
originally when I started looking, so obviously being an estate agent, property was definitely something that has always been on my mind, but I never really had thought about owning my own. I was living at home. I was quite comfortable at home. I wasn't necessarily paying any rent. My mum was just supporting the whole household, basically. So I wasn't in a position where I felt like I had to move. But one of my colleagues at the time had just purchased a 1-bedroom flat. And I remember roughly me and her had about the same amount of properties in our pipeline. And, it kind of made me think, oh, if she can afford to buy that, maybe means I can. So I remember having a conversation with a mortgage advisor, and they told me how much I could borrow. I was like, oh, okay, let me see what's around and what's on the market for this kind of price. Had a look in Thurrock originally, because that's where, I was kind of finding good deals. But then on one of my days off, after seeing the mortgage broker, I started looking on Zoopla, and I found the flat in Dagenham and went to see it the same day, put an offer in the same day. So, and yeah, I guess that's
Was
the
that a
answer.
good decision?
One of the best decisions I've ever made, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 23 when I saw it, so
Wow.
it was a great decision from my perspective. One, because so whenever I looked at properties, I looked at it from an estate agent point of view. It's it's a 3-floor building, no lift, annoyingly, but I knew that meant the service charge might be a little bit significantly lower. Brick bill, and I was looking at gas central heating. So at the time, a lot of the newer flats were kind of putting in lots of electric, whereas I preferred gas. Something I looked at, it had a pretty good standard boiler. It was a Valent boiler, and I know that they're pretty good in terms of how they operate. And even though it was maybe about The building was maybe like 6, 7 years old, I think, at the time. So I knew that I could get some good usage out of that boiler.
And it had a long lease on it, I suppose.
Had a long lease, although it was not the longest lease. It was maybe 90, probably just about 90 years. So I actually renewed the lease myself maybe about 3, 4 years ago now. So
Okay. Is it
yeah.
expensive to renew a lease?
Mine wasn't, but that's actually because I did a lot of the legal work myself.
Right.
So I basically, by the time I took it to a lawyer, I'd pretty much done most of it. So he just needed to sign off on the parts that I couldn't sign off on.
So was it more on the fees or the actual transaction?
It was more on the fees. So obviously I had to get it valued. So I had to pay for the valuation. My management company wouldn't pay for it. So, and they don't standardly pay for it. I had to pay for the management fee. And then when I got it valued, I mean, they didn't quote me a lot for the extension. Obviously it's a 1 bed with no parking. So it wasn't crazy. I think maybe it was about 1,500, maybe 1,500 for the actual cost of the lease extension.
It's nothing really.
It's very low, but it's because I did it so early as well. It was maybe only 87 years when I did it. So
Right.
I
Okay.
was still kind of bordering that marriage value. So
Yes. So that was nearly 10 years ago you bought that?
yeah, almost. Yeah. Give or
Almost.
take,
And
yeah.
can you share how much the capital value appreciation has been on that?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I purchased it for 152,000. I just remortgaged last year and we were looking at 195,000. So
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
bit of growth. It could be more in my opinion, but for the length of time I've had it, so
So that's the value in time in the market.
very much. And that's something that I also learned a lot with Foxtons. Obviously, working in Stratford post Olympics, you get to know that value growth in property. Like the problem is, wages will never increase the same way that property value does. So even if you can afford to buy something now, just buy it now because you wait 10 years, you might be earning 20K more, but that property is going to be worth, 50, 60K more. You're
Yeah.
never going to be able to make up the difference. So just buy when you can afford.
People always ask that question, Sean, is it a good time to buy? And I'm like, well, the right time is always now.
Yeah,
I
agree.
if you're in a position, then go for a deal because tomorrow it can be, it can go up. It can also go down,
It can.
but it depends where you are in the cycle. And as you said, that you're invested, over the last 8, 9 years now. Look how much you're up already. I actually invested in Stratford before the Olympics as well.
Smart decision. One of the best decisions you
I'm
could have ever
telling you,
made.
and I got about 5 tickets before then as
Yeah.
well. And then I bought a few between 2014 and 2017. And you could just imagine things went from 180,000 to like 400,000 or 500,000. It was just crazy.
One of the best decisions you could ever do was buy in Stratford before the Olympics because, even when I started in 2013 just. So it was just literally after the Olympics. And, I still remember one of the first flats I sold on Stratford High Street. It was like a 1 bed for like 150,000. And it was one of the corner, like just, I'm trying to remember the building, but it's literally where you go into Westfield on Stratford High Street way. It's on the corner. You could literally see all of the Olympic Stadium from that corner flat. It had a wraparound balcony, 150,000.
Wow.
And that same flat now, easily 500,000. So for me, it's just in that space of time, the growth, crazy. So I can only imagine what you bought in Stratford is worth now. So,
Do you ever
yeah.
kick yourself and say, oh, I should have bought it?
Um,
Stretch myself a little bit more.
I wish I could, but I think financially on my own, I would never have been able to afford Stratford then. I think, I was kind of looking Romford, and at the time, even Romford was a bit of a stretch. So it worked out fine for me because my family live in Dagenham. So we moved to Dagenham after we lived in East Ham. So as long as I was close with my family, that was going to be a benefit because originally Lakeside was going to be the place that I was looking to move. So anything closer than that was a blessing.
It was kind of a shock when I heard you were leaving Foxtons.
It was a shock to a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, because everyone was like, you're looking the part. It looked like you were doing a lot of deals. We'd keep in contact. You're like, look, what are you looking for? Let me write it down in my diary. If something comes up, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I saw I'm leaving Foxtons. It's been
Yeah.
a lovely time. And it's what was going on behind the scenes, behind the curtains.
Ooh, so I think I just realised when it comes to property, it's an industry that I love. So even bearing in mind, I never had thought about going into property. I ended up, I guess, I went there to originally just get a sales experience so I could become a recruitment consultant. As I worked there, I think I learned a lot more in that time about what I liked, what I didn't like. I really enjoyed helping people. I was very, I really enjoyed giving advice and supporting and being knowledgeable about property and being knowledgeable in my field. But I felt that after a while, I think I'd kind of exhausted the most that I could learn in that business and in the company. And Foxtons do a great job. One thing they are is very thorough in how they do it. Their training was the most, to this day, I was just saying actually to someone else, Foxtons was the most thorough training I've ever had in a job at all. And also in terms of the systems that they use, very well thought through, they spent a lot of money on it, but it was worth it. So it's like clockwork. It literally is like the military. It's very systematic. Everything makes sense. So I felt like I'd learned the most that I could learn, and I'd got to like a senior sales negotiator status. The next step probably would have been maybe looking at being a manager of a branch. And had I probably stayed a bit longer, that would have been an option. But I just felt that I didn't need to stay there to know. I don't think I would have learned anything else, I think. And beyond that, looking at the commission and taking home £800 a month, I felt like I just wanted something a little bit more stable. After I bought my property, I used to work 12-hour days. So it was very much 12 hours and then a day at the weekend every other week. And they were only shut, Foxtons, 3 days a year when I was working there. So it was very much Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and I think there's like one other day in the year they were shut. So
Wow.
every single day is a work day at Foxtons. So whilst I really enjoyed it, I just felt that it was my time to go. I think I wanted to reclaim a bit of my time, do a standard 9 to 5 and actually get home and have time to properly kind of enjoy my evening. I used to doing 12-hour shifts. I used to come back. I would get home maybe just after like 8. So it's pretty much 8 to 8. My mum would have cooked dinner. So I would literally eat dinner, shower, go to bed, wake up, exercise, be on the road again. And that was my week.
You're just living to work, really.
Living to work. It was straight in, straight out.
I know exactly how that feels because I used to work for Barclays.
Yes, I remember actually.
So I used to work from 21 to 27. Sort of worked in Barclays in West End. It was literally 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up 6:30. You're nearly out the house. 7, 8, 8:30. You're at work. You're ready for your morning meetings. 9 o'clock. You'll have another meeting with the senior manager, especially when you was doing your. When I was a premier manager, we'd go through what appointments do you have for the day, where you at with your lending, your insurances, and your savings sort of things. And then if you didn't have enough appointments, they'll be like, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to do a call out?
Sounds very similar to Foxtons.
It's very similar. It's very similar. It's very
Yeah.
good training. But I was one of the top in West End. I was number one, but I'd always dip for a little bit because I'd learn how to do everything. And once I learned it and built the relationships, then you'd get repeat business. And once I became number one in West End, it was just like I was thinking I was doing really well, invested in a few properties, and my dad just goes to me, Sean, are you happy? Like, honestly, are you really like, are you happy? And I was like, yeah, look, everything's going great. And he goes, stop for a minute.
Yeah.
You've actually like put on weight. Your eyes are going black and dark, and we never see you.
Yeah.
Like, you're never around. We've got a little function. We've got your brother-in-law's come round. You're not there.
That was a massive thing as well. Is that you're not there, and I have a really, I wouldn't say massive family, but very close family. And there's always someone's birthday, someone's function. And, I would actually go above and beyond to be there, but I'd be tired, like it is that, working on a Saturday, I finish at 5. Okay, come back, shower, to get changed, go back out again, and then be out Saturday night. And I feel like at the time I was young enough to do it, but I think it got to a point when I left that actually there are people who have their whole weekends free. And because I've also bought the property now, there's a part of me that's kind of now thinking more, okay, I need to have a consistent income, but also I need the time. I need my time back to enjoy the property. What's the point in having a place if you don't actually ever live there? So
how do you get a right work-life personal balance?
I'm still working on that now. I don't think you ever really get one. It's tough. It is tough because, I think when you're someone who knows only how to work hard, it's very hard to just actually relax and not do anything.
Of course. It can be like prison sometimes.
Yeah, because you know what? I'll be lying in bed being like, okay, Natel, you need to rest. And then I'll be like, oh, but I haven't done X. And then that will get me off. And I start doing something. And, I think even just being in the house all day, you know, even with COVID and stuff like that, it was still a case. That was an opportunity for me to, oh, okay, I'm going to redo the carpet. I'm going to redo the painting. I did everything. So yeah, I don't really know how to rest. That's the
I think
problem.
we're a special breed, they call it, you know?
We are. And it's good because, you know, it's brought some really good benefits. But I think a lot of people from the outside don't see the amount of time that it takes. You know, even when you're saying about working in Barclays, it's that people being like, you're doing really well because you've worked your way up, you're getting a great income coming in. But it's great from the outside, but when you're actually living it, you're not really enjoying, you're just existing. So
It's true. It's true. Like,
mm,
you're almost giving your whole life to this FTSE 100 sort of company.
yeah.
And they've got to keep up a very, you know, clean, good image. And you're part of the workforce. And they somehow get you empowered that you're part of them. And
Mhm,
when it's right for them to sort of, you know, put you in on a PIP,
mhm.
performance improvement plan, and you haven't quite performed here. And it goes, well, you know what the market's doing, you know
Yeah.
what, basically, I know, but we have to fill this document. And it's like, actually, you actually mean nothing.
Yeah.
You're a number.
That's also what I think I realized then as well. It's as much as, you know, you could pour your whole life into it, you are just an employee at the end of the day. They could get rid of you tomorrow if, you know, stocks or, you know, value of the company goes down. They're going to look to trim the fat and you'll be the first to go. So, and sales is particularly brutal. Now, I'm lucky I didn't have that potentially hanging over me at Foxtons, and I kind of just walked out on my own accord. But it was just the right time. I think the market did dip as well. If I
Yeah.
remember that there was a moment where it was just getting harder and harder to secure those deals. And if you're not bringing that money in, you know, you're working 12 hours really for nothing. You know, when you actually worked out, I think someone actually did this, when you worked the amount of hours that I was working based on the salary, even though the salary was good, I probably could have got the same level of money working at McDonald's, literally just based on the amount of hours spent. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. But you got a good experience and good
Oh,
training.
honestly, it set me up for a lot of different opportunities that come forward. And, you know, even now people still look at my CV and like, oh, you worked at Foxtons. Oh, they were really tough. And you were there for so long. I was there for like 3 years. So
That's amazing, because I would have never thought what salary you were on when I saw you at Foxtons. I was like, this girl's earning 50, 70,000 at least minimum. Do you know what I mean? It just looked like that from the outside. And it brings in another little topic that, you know, there's a lot of people out there who will work. They're not on a lot of money, but they want to wear the top designer gear.
Mhm.
They want to put the Fendi on, the Gucci on, and they don't care if half their wages has gone on this bag, but they want that confidence to walk into that room and look what I have, like almost to gain respect of other people. But some of this respect is just very short term lived. I mean, how long are you going to wear that bag for? How long is it going to give you confidence for? And guess what? When it's all said and done, and you're 30 years old, and you're looking for partners, and you want to start a family, and you look in your bank account and there's nothing there, then people who you were trying to impress are not there either.
Yeah.
It's when they realize, oh, bloody, I've blown a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have never really been a designer fan in that regard. Like, there's some items that I like, but a lot of the time I could never justify maybe spending that much money in one go on some things. I think everyone should have their outlet. So if designer items are your outlet, absolutely fine. You know, for me, I love Carnival. I do Carnival every year.
Yes.
Love a good costume, but they're not cheap. They're very expensive. And I think people also don't realize how expensive they are.
How much do they cost?
The most expensive costume that I've ever purchased was probably my last one, and that was probably around £800-900.
Okay.
So, and you wear it for one
Describe how it looks.
I mean, it is huge. It is like, you know, the massive feathers. The feathers, I'm like 5'2". The feathers are easily like the same height plus of me. So feathers, lots of gems, lots of sparkles, little crown. You've got like your little hand pieces, you've got your leg pieces, everything. And then that's not including if you spend to do your makeup and get like the right trainers as well, because you're on your feet all day. So yeah.
And so what is the thing behind the carnival?
Funny enough, obviously I'm from the Caribbean, so Carnival is cultural
Yes.
for us. It's a celebration. I first did Carnival, and I think when I was like 8 years old. So that was the first one I got involved in. And my dad actually went around and recorded me. So he used to go every year and record the Carnival. Obviously, he used to film weddings, so he always had the camera equipment. So it just made sense, and I just fell in love with it from then. It's just an enjoyment. Like everyone has their outlet. That's my outlet. To me, that's my Christmas day. It's day for celebration, great food, good vibes, friends,
Yes.
everything.
I'm always scared to go Carnival, I'll be honest, because every time you turn the news on, it's like someone's been stabbed.
Everyone
Someone's
says
been hurt. And you've been for how many years to that Carnival?
Gosh, I mean, in the last I want to say maybe at least I've gone probably about 7 or 8 years straight now as an adult.
Have you seen trouble?
Not really, but do you know what? I'd always say if you're going to do Carnival, go with a band because the band themselves have security. So we have that kind of slightly added layer of protection.
What does that mean, go with the band?
Yeah, so with the band, so when you've got the procession, so Carnival is made up of a few different elements, but the main element of Carnival, which I think maybe has been a bit lost as time has gone on, is the procession. It's the feathers, it's the trucks that have all of the different kind of music, well, it's mainly soca music playing, so it's kind of the speakers and everything kind of going through. So if you ever see the costumes at Carnival, that's very much the main procession. But because Notting Hill Carnival specifically has got so big, there's so many different elements. You have the different stages, you've got the sound kind of platforms. So most people, I'd say, as guests, tend to go to a lot of the things that are around Carnival. Obviously, most people still go to see the costumes, but yeah, so basically going with a band is going with the part of the procession of the costumes, basically. So but we have security, we have like lunch as on the road, everything is kind of with the band as you go along. And it's just a good experience. And you don't have to do a costume if you don't want to. You can do a t-shirt, and a t-shirt, you basically just support the band as they go through. And you still get I still say you get the benefits of being with the procession without having to be half naked on the streets if that's not what your preference is. So yeah, but it's just a great experience. And I've never really, like I said, I've never really come across any trouble. A couple drunk people maybe that are just a bit like bottles and just a bit leery is probably the word. But no, I've never seen any trouble myself. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I'd only say in the last year that I went, it was just very congested. Obviously, I think it was the first one after COVID, and there were a lot of people. And I think they've made the procession area a lot smaller than it used to be, and because of that, it gets very congested. And I think being in the crowd, but then also being in the band, and I've got these huge feathers, and you've got people like wading into you, things like that. So yeah, that's probably the only downside was the congestion.
Nice. So can I say that once you left at Foxtons, did you hit a low point at all or anything?
I think it was a big change leaving Foxtons. One of the things where, I had to give back my car that I had at Foxtons. So obviously they give you a car whilst you're an estate agent. It was a little Mini with the skeleton print, as everyone probably remembers from Foxtons. So giving that back was a bit of a challenge. And then starting a new role, I actually took a bit of a pay cut. And now the money was more consistent, but it was a pay cut. So
Where did you start working?
So they don't actually exist anymore. It was a company where I went straight into working in education pretty much. So it was a training advisor role. So I used to go and help learners with their NVQs. And so they had NVQs in different qualifications, but actually they used to do sales and estate agency qualifications. So I used to go to different estate agents, sit with their apprentices, and basically help them understand how to be an estate agent in that business. So I actually really enjoyed that role, but the company went into administration. Now I left actually, luckily, I think I maybe had a premonition, but I left before they went into administration.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. And why did you leave?
I just felt like the company wasn't, I could tell that they were maybe something was happening, just little things that they said they were gonna issue a company car, and then after like 3 or 4 months, I didn't have a company car. So I kind of just got the impression that that's what was going to happen. And ironically, after that role, I ended up going back into estate agency. The reason I didn't immediately go to another estate agent was because I actually had a competition clause, so I couldn't leave Foxtons and go work for another estate agent. Yeah, within the East London area, pretty much for a good. Can't remember how long the clause is. Maybe it's like a 6-month or a year clause. So I had to just take something that was outside of that industry. And then if I wanted to go back into property after that, then I could think about doing that.
Okay. And who did you go and work for?
So after that, I went and worked for JLL briefly in Stratford again. So I was still within that area. They were a brand new office. So again, it was just a bit of a stark contrast for me. I think they were lovely and it was a great team. The manager was great, but it just felt a little bit like I went into something from scratch. And coming from Foxtons, even though I felt like I learned a lot from Foxtons, their infrastructure was very well supported. It, you know, I think Foxtons make it easy to be an estate agent and you can really just focus on the elements of selling. Whereas when you go to other agents, it's very much, you're kind of starting from the ground up, which is never a bad thing because I feel like you learn more. But it kind of took me out of the comfort of what I knew. And I started to feel like I don't know if this industry is for me anymore.
What did that mean? Like more paperwork, more stuff you had to do?
I think it was probably more of a focus on generating new business. I think because Foxtons is such a conglomerate, they automatically just receive business. I mean, you still have to work hard to get it, but it was a lot more difficult to get business on point. And I feel like, you've got targets, you're trying to meet target sales. And I felt like I didn't do as well in terms of generating new business there. So I think I started to just feel like I don't know if this is for me anymore. So I had to kind of really take a minute out and think, what do I want to do? And then obviously now, bear in mind, I've had the experience of working at Foxtons, I've worked in a council, I've worked in education. So I had to really kind of think what it is that I liked about each of those roles. Now, with the Foxtons part, I enjoyed advising, helping people. I really enjoyed being knowledgeable about property and different industries. But actually, the main part of it was actually helping people get onto the property ladder. Why did I like education? I was helping students learn how to be better estate agents or be better at their jobs and support. So I kind of took that as an answer of I enjoy helping people and I enjoy advising. So I ended up working in a university after that as a student advisor. So
Okay. So how long did you stay at JL for?
I was only there for about maybe 7-8 months.
Okay.
So,
Still quite a bit of time though.
yeah, enough time.
You gave it a good shot.
Yeah, I really tried in that role. I think looking back, I probably, as always, I look back and think I could have done better. I could have done more with that role. But I just think maybe it wasn't the right time for me.
Nice. And then you jumped over to student advisor role. What uni or college?
Yeah, so that I started at London South Bank
Okay.
University.
Okay. And what made you get into that?
Do you know what? I was always kind of looking at something within the advisory capacity. I knew that universities typically at the time had really good salaries, I think, for even kind of entry level advisory roles. So if I was looking at changing into that industry, I knew I'd probably have to start at the bottom. So that was a bottom, but it was still quite a good salary. It was probably quite similar to what I was getting as a base salary for JLL. So
Okay.
I had to fight a little bit to get that salary at the university, but once I got it, I was like, this makes sense. So
Okay. And you still there now or?
no, so I've done a little bit of jumping since, but in terms of university, I very much kind of stayed within the university industry. So I went from South Bank University to University of East London. Then I
Okay.
went from University of East London to Coventry University, but they have a campus in Dagenham. So
Okay. That
yeah.
makes sense.
So I did the university run for a while, and then I was at Dagenham, Coventry during COVID, and then I left that and then worked for the council briefly and then took a break. And yeah.
Okay. And why did you need this break?
So this was around the time that Dragon's Den was happening, and I really needed to focus on Dragon's Den, and it was just getting a little bit too much. So I had started a job at the council whilst I was trying to manage Dragon's Den. Sales kind of paused, not paused, they kind of reduced a little bit because I felt like when I was at Coventry, I was working from home. So I was working remotely. I was able to kind of really dedicate into the role. I think I knew what I was doing a lot more. So I still had time to really kind of manage and run the business at the same time. When I left that and started a new job, it required a lot more of my focus. And during that time is when Dragon's Den started to happen. And I had to make a choice. Like, do I put my all into Dragon's Den and see if I can make something of it? Or do I continue working at the council? Because I mean, I had a great manager there. I absolutely loved her, but she's very good at her job and she knows exactly what she wants you to deliver. And it just started to feel a little bit overwhelming for me. So I had to make that choice. And I decided that I need to focus on getting Dragon's Den right, because potentially that could change the face of my business.
Well, when did this business come about? When did you start this? Like, because you kind of skipped that bit.
Yeah.
You said you've done some jobs, but obviously something was happening in the background that was you were inspired by, you were passionate by.
Sure. So, I mean, I'd always wanted to have a business. Obviously, studying a business degree gets you in the mindset of, I'd love to have my own business, but I just never knew what in. And I think it got to a point where I wouldn't say I gave up on the idea of starting a business. I just couldn't think of a good enough one to start. So I had done maybe, I think, a couple of YouTube videos, and I kind of just left it at that. I was like, maybe that's not what I'm meant to do. And then I ended up, I was at uni in this role. So the role I was working at Coventry during the summer, the students aren't on campus. So it's very much kind of just quiet. It's probably the word. It's very, very quiet. So during that time, I had gone and tried to, I think I'd been interviewing. I think I'd interviewed for a role. And I went to buy a nail polish. Like, one of the things about me, I always like to have a nail polish that matches my outfit, but still kind of subtle, but still nude. And I remember picking out this outfit for this interview, and I was like, right, I need new nail polish. And I went to Dagenham Heathway, because there's a couple of shops around there, just looking for this particular nail polish colour that I had in my head, and I just couldn't find it. And I literally went home and I was like, I'm just going to Google, like, how do you make nail polish? And that is really where it started. And I Googled it. I found a supplier where you can purchase the components to make your own colours. And so I bought like a small batch just to kind of experiment and just kind of see if I could create what I was looking for. And then I did. And I thought, oh my God, these colours are great. Kept them as like a personal collection, made a few for like friends and family. And then during the summer at the university, where it was very, very quiet, I was like talking to different colleagues and kind of setting them, and they're like, oh, make me one, make it this color. So I did that. Then obviously they wanted to pay me for it. So like, it's your time. So I set up like an Etsy during that time. And then I started thinking about doing like a proper logo and then doing branding. And because the students weren't there, I kind of had like almost 6 weeks to really kind of set up an Etsy and a website and things like that, and an Instagram. So I did. And I guess 4 years later now, here we are.
Wow. So I'm just looking at this right
Yeah.
now. So this is it. And so, like, what am I looking at? Because it says handcrafted, which
Yep.
means somebody makes it by hand. What is it normally made by machines?
Yeah, so with the nail polish colours, I mean, there are factories that obviously process and make nail polishes, so they very much could just pick a colour on a board and just create it, really. Whereas this is actually, I've done the colour theory. So everything with colour theory is like, take that yellow, for example. I've got a yellow pigment, but to get it to that yellow, I have to kind of add little bits of white into it. I might add like a little bit of blue just to kind of make it really pop. So there's a lot of thought that goes into the
Have
colours.
you got a measuring system so you know exactly how much is in? Then you've got you can be consistent with it.
I have to, yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things. And what I tend to do is I make them in batch as well. So the colour formula that I have is, for larger batches. So it makes it easier.
Nice. It says vegan.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this thing could be vegan or how they normally work. What, do they normally put meat in it?
Not meat specifically, but if you actually want a bit of history of gel polish. So gel polish is a good example because most people know gel polish originally as shellac, and shellac is a specific brand of gel polish. Now, the lac part, the LAC, comes from a lac bug, which is an insect that produces different types of resin, which is used in nail and gel polishes to produce the colour. So actually it's an animal byproduct, as it were, which would make it not vegan. So most nail brands now actively don't use that ingredient anymore. So therefore it's now vegan.
And cruelty free.
Yeah. So as with all kind of cosmetics,
no animals were hurt in this process.
No animals were hurt in the process. I might have been hurt, but no animals. So it's very kind of yeah. Oh, what's I going to say? But yeah, it's very much a case of not having it tested on animals.
So do you have a team? Has somebody helped you design all of this stuff and the branding and colors, or is that something you took on yourself?
No, I don't have a team. Everything is myself. So branding, logo, bottle design, everything.
And how do you do this? So if somebody's thinking, I want to set up my own business,
Yeah.
how do this, like, where do they start from?
So it's interesting because I'd usually say like try and plan what it is that you want to do, but I guess I didn't also have a plan to start. I started to kind of piece together different things, but research. Honestly, research has been my best friend. It's actually understanding the business that you want to do. And if there's anything you don't understand, take the initiative to get it first. Now, obviously, if you can afford to find someone who has that knowledge already, it kind of sets you above from everybody else. But research and knowing everything myself has been beneficial now, because at least if I pass on certain elements of it, I still understand the business. I understand how it works and where the benefits are.
So did you get an investment from Dragon's Den?
Unfortunately, I did not get an investment from Dragon's Den. Yeah, it's a shame, but I also didn't go on there thinking that I was. Now, I know that sounds kind of maybe negative thinking, but I knew from watching Dragon's Den that, businesses like this, they kind of opt to take a chance. So I don't think I've generated enough sales for them to kind of say, hey, this really makes sense as an investor to put money in. I would have needed them to just kind of take a chance on me and have a belief in the business. So it's unfortunate, but it doesn't necessarily change the trajectory for what I'm doing.
What's your USP?
So the main USP was having nude nail polish colors that suit darker skin tones. That is something that is what started the brand for me. It's finding the colors that actually look good on darker skin. Even the nails I have right now, the kind of base color is more of a beige tone than a pink tone. A lot of gel polishes that come out at the moment have a pink tone, and it works for some people. There's some people with darker skin tones that have nails that of of pink tone that works, but it just never worked for me. So I made it.
Is this a good time to tell you that I'm colorblind?
So yeah, you might have wanted to start with that at the beginning. But do you know what? I think from a point of view, I can tell you from my experience, obviously, in terms of color, it is important. And I think it's important for brands to kind of recognize that there's diversity in colors and shades, and Black women particularly are actually the biggest spenders of cosmetics and kind of hair products.
So what's been your biggest challenges?
I think my biggest challenge is, I guess, I'd say meeting kind of minimum order requirements. I'd say when I'm ordering things in bulk, it's one, trying to find somewhere to store them all. It's finding the capital to kind of purchase in that amount. And, when dealing with suppliers, they want you to order as much as they can. A lot of companies won't, sell to you unless you buy like 1,000 bottles at a time. So, and I'm quite particular. I'd say actually my challenge has been my particularness, because my bottle shape is rectangular. They're quite hard to source, those bottles. I love those bottles. I don't really want to change them. But it becomes a challenge, because actually now that they're a less difficult or more difficult to find, a supplier will now want you to buy 10,000 in one go instead of just buying 1,000. So it's meeting those kind of challenges and trying to find a way around it. And that's actually been something I've had to maintain and do throughout my whole business. It's finding ways around the different challenges that present themselves.
Yeah. Where do you see your business going?
I mean, I would love to see this sitting in like a John Lewis, a Selfridges, even a Boots or Superdrug kind of aspect. I think that's the trajectory that I would like to have with the brand. I want to see us in a physical place where people can pick up the polishes, pick up the purchases in person. The same way how when I went to the retail stores to buy the colour that I wanted, I couldn't find it. So I want people to have that availability. I'd also like the idea of opening a Telmoir nail salon. I think nail salons generate good business. I think actually get it in a good location, good commercial property. That's a good aspect of that aspect too. So yeah, I think I'm just thinking all of the different benefits, and then maybe have a nail salon that's based on Telmoir, based on our values, and then replicate that, franchise it out, have it, in the Caribbean, have it in Africa, have like a nice salon in different areas of the world.
So how do you scale this business now? So you have an idea. Basically, you have this idea now.
Yeah.
You've got friends and family who are interested. You've done a little bit of sales to the normal public as well.
Yeah, no, done. So in the 3 years prior to this year, probably did about 40K worth of sales, which It's not huge in the grand scheme of things,
It's
but
really good.
also
For
40,000
nail
is,
varnish is 10 grand a year, mate. That's not
yeah.
bad, you know.
And also looking at it from the point of, you know, a single nail polish, I was selling it originally for £5.99. So to get £40,000 worth of sales, you have to sell a lot of units of
Wow.
polish. So in that sense, yeah, it's been a good level of sales and, you know, to a good level of public, which has been a blessing. But I think it's also, how do I scale? At the moment, everything I make, kind of, I pour it back into the business and try and develop and get new products. So I have a lot of new products, but actually, I think a massive focus I need to push now is on brand awareness and getting people to know that we exist instead of focusing on new products. Because, you know, I could get 10,000 new products, but if I only have 1,000 customers, once they've all bought one, I've got 9,000 products left. So it's opening the business to a wider scale. And I think Dragon's Den definitely helped me do that. But it's how to maintain and keep those customers coming back.
Where did you get the name from?
So tell me. So it's a mixture of different things. So I originally used to use the internet. You know when you don't want people to know your real name? So I used to use Tel Noir as like my internet name or like MSN name, things like that. So that's how it started off.
MSN, you know.
Yeah, back in the day. So that's how it started off. And then me and my cousin were going to go into business together. She does bridal hair and she has a company called Chatel Noir. And I felt like Chatel Noir just seemed really too similar to Tel Noir. So we had a chat about it and I started to think about what else I could call it. Now, I kind of wanted to retain the Tel Noir because that was kind of part of me. But then I was kind of speaking to some of my friends. I have a friend who speaks French. And I was like, can we not just call it Tel Noir? And I was like, does that mean anything? Does it translate to anything? And, you know, we kind of like looked it up and we had a bit of discussion, but it's like a loose translation to mean like me. And the whole point of this brand was that I wanted colours and people to be represented who look like me. So that's ultimately how the name came about. So it's not like a direct translation, but, you know, and also if you look at it from the point of I'm Natel and this is Tel Moi, tell me, I am me. So, yeah.
How important is digital marketing to your business now?
Oh, it's the most important thing to our business. I'd say without the elements of being able to, you know, Instagram, TikToks, all of the social platforms, we wouldn't have grown to nowhere near where we would have. You know, I think email marketing is a very overlooked marketing tool that's helped us grow, but actually social media and nail polish is very visual, so it relies on people seeing and liking the colors. So yeah, it's been key.
And how do you approach your social media?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need to do? Are you posting daily, weekly, monthly? What does that look like? How do you entice people to?
Yeah.
Well, essentially, like you're competing with so many other big, massive
Very
brands.
big, yeah.
So how do you stand out?
It's difficult. It's a challenge. I would say that I've kind of taken, as Instagram has grown and so have Reels and TikToks, I've had to take a more active approach in terms of developing videos, tutorials, how to use our products. It's not just about having or posting pretty pictures anymore. People want to see the movement or the lifestyle that goes with it. So
I see one of your nails. It was like the zigzag line, like this curly whirly line, and then it was like a different color went in between. I was like, God, that's pressure. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm
I know
saying?
exactly which one you're talking about as well. Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to kind of understand, and I've had to really grow my understanding of social media as we grow, because, you know, even little things that, so even though I do my own nails and have done my own nails for a very long time, I wasn't a qualified nail technician. So in terms of even giving people advice on how to do certain things, you know, I was very knowledgeable and have a very knowledgeable understanding of the products, the chemistry behind it. But in terms of teaching and helping people, I don't feel like I gave the best advice that I could have because I'm not a qualified nail technician. So I then went and studied and became a qualified nail technician. So that's to give more validity to the business itself. And actually now when I'm doing videos, it's because it's coming from a place of knowledge and I know what needs to be done, kind of vibe. So yeah.
It's hard enough being an entrepreneur as it
Yeah.
is. Do you think it's more difficult that you're a woman and working in a business environment? Have you experienced anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say being a woman and then also being a Black woman has made it a little bit more difficult. Not so much in terms of anything outwardly, you know, I've not had anyone kind of particularly be racist, but I think it's more a case of, you know, you tell someone you make nail polish, it's like, oh, that's a nice little business, you know, it's cute, you know, it's like making little, you know, business, you know. But then when they kind of hear about some of the opportunities that we've had, some of the places we've been, it kind of opens people's eyes, like, oh wow. And I remember that when I first started doing the business, one of the roles that I had to actually go around to different businesses, and we were judging them for like a business competition. And I remember telling them, someone was like, oh, so what do you do? Do you do anything outside of this? And I told them I did nails. They're like, oh, you can't make a lot of money doing that. That's a terrible business. It's not, you know, you should think about doing something more, you know, structured, or, you know, and it's just like, I don't know if it was coming from a man, so I guess also men don't always understand the nail polish industry in the same way that women do, because I guess I want to say traditionally it's a women's subject, although there's a lot more men now buying nail polish and being in the industry, so, you know, I'm glad they support it, but I just think that coming from a man was just like, you really don't know much about nails, do you? Like, there's a lot of major players, yes, but a lot of people will buy nail polish and gel polish from, you know, companies just because they like the color.
So a lot of men are buying nail polishes now.
I've had quite a few sales from nail polish, from men. So it's we're a diverse, growing generation. So it, you know, for me, as long as you're buying my product, I don't care who you are. You could be anything. As long as you're spending your money with me, I'm happy. So,
what's your opinion on what's happening? Because of the last couple of years, things have changed radically.
Yeah.
Different things have been taught in school, pronouns. It's like, I've just seen it go just like that in the last couple of years. And I was like, well, it wasn't even a gradual change. Now, I have nothing against anybody. Be who you want to be, do what you want to do. But when you're around, like, you know, younger children and you're trying to teach them certain things, isn't that confusing people, don't you think?
I mean, I think children are probably more intelligent than we give them credit for. I think they absorb a lot of information. So even if it's not necessarily taught in schools, they're going to pick it up because, you know, my nephew, like some of the things that he has mentally picked up, it always surprises you how quickly children learn something. So, you know, I think it's important that we teach them before they become aware sometimes, because it's then, you know, that kind of question of, if a child comes to you and asks you something first, you're not prepared to give them the right answer, where I guess if they're learning it in a structured and supported environment, they can understand it. So if they come across it, they are already aware. But there's a whole conversation in that, and, you know, and how far do you go in that? I'm not a parent yet, so I can't comment. I think when I have kids, maybe I'll think about it, because I'm sure by the time I do, what they teach in schools is probably going to be very different. So
Probably. I hope it's in a good way.
You just never know. I think you just never know.
So Natel, I'm sure you had loads of challenges. How do you overcome challenges and knockbacks and failures? How do you deal with that?
I mean, Dragon's Den was a massive failure to me personally, because even though I necessarily didn't go there for investment, you know, in my mind I just thought it's a great marketing opportunity, it's a great way to get my business out there. But then to be told no, you know, I think there was a small part of me that felt like, oh, you know, maybe they'll just give me a chance and they'll give me a shot. So to have that, and to have such negative feedback about the packaging as well. So Tuka was very opinionated about my packaging.
What did he say about the packaging?
Oh, he said it looks like knockoff Chanel. He said that it belongs in a market alley, like back market. He was very mean, and they didn't show all of it, but you know, he just was very criticizing of the packaging is probably the word. And, you know,
how do you deal with that? Someone's knocking down your brand, your love, your hard work.
It was
stuff.
Very hard. Best believe I cried afterwards. I cried because, do you know what? I think it'd be different if I'd paid someone to make the packaging, but I have to do everything myself. So it's a direct criticism on me and my branding and my, you know, logo skills, which, you know, I've never said that I'm, you know, a logo or brand, you know, designer or anything on that bad, but I didn't think it looked that bad. I thought it looked good. I thought it was very well designed. So they kind of hear that criticism of a direct piece of work. It's like a teacher looking at your essay being like, this is terrible. Like, how could you give me this? And you spent, the past of, 3 weeks working on it. So it's hard. And it was a challenge because I also have like 3,000 of those boxes because I had to order a specific quantity in order to get them designed that way. So yeah, it's tough. And how I got over it, I think I had my cry. I let myself be upset. I let myself feel my emotions. And, I had some really amazing people who spoke some very positive things, to be like, look, you've got this far, you've done so well, be appreciative of the fact that you've had this opportunity, and just utilize this to create what it is that you want. Like, you don't need them, you can continue, you can still do this. So I've been very lucky to have people around me who constantly support me. But even in that, I guess I had to take a minute out for myself and just be like, right. And that's when I took a break. One, to obviously build for Dragon's Den. And then once it happened, I was like, right, I need to change the business. I need to make it better. I went back and designed a new website. I went back and researched some new products to add to the store. So I just basically went harder. And I think that was the key part of overcoming everything, because I managed to focus all of my upset on building something better. And I took it as a learning curve.
I love that, because
Mm.
it's almost like saying that you don't let your failures define you, you let your failures teach you.
They
You
have to
know,
motivate you.
so when something doesn't go right, what do I need to change? Because look, the person in front of me is not liking it. It could be amazing to me in my eyes, but if you don't like it, it's not good, because the next person might be thinking the same thing. So how can I be innovative? How can I do things differently? And how do you take, criticism? It's important to take criticism, because
Yeah.
sometimes, so often, we're thinking, why did he say this about me?
Yeah.
Who does he think you are? But sometimes they are your best friends.
Yeah.
Then people are watching out for you and going, look, I care about you. This is why I'm telling you. Take it with a pinch of salt, but
Yeah.
do something. And some of the people who you think are your friends are silently killing you and going, yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
let's see her fall.
Yeah. It's so important. And, I think it's just, you really have to focus on building something that you're proud of and that you're happy with, and, focus on that element of it, because, yeah, once you do that, you can sit back and, even though it was hard to take the criticism about the packaging, I know how much time I spent on that. I know how much work that took. So even if you don't like it, I like it. So, yeah.
What's been your proudest accomplishment so far?
Mm. There's been a couple, but I'd probably say having my nail polishes on set of Top Boy. That is one of my favorite achievements. So whenever you watch Top Boy and you look to the nail scenes, the salon, all of the polishes in the background are mine, and the gel lamp that she's using is mine. So that's one. Being in Vogue, number two, definitely being in Vogue is a crazy achievement. The fact that I could even say that, yeah, my polishes were seen in Vogue is amazing. Yeah, I'd probably say those are my two top achievements.
Nice. How do you keep yourself motivated? Like, rather than let the failure defy you, and, maybe I'll change a few things and it's still not going. How do you stay motivated to say, now this is my purpose?
It's hard. Like, just like everyone, I have those days where I lay in bed and I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, should I just quit and just go get a job and just make it easy for myself? Because actually, they say if you want to work 12 hours a day, go become an entrepreneur. Like, you constantly work. There's times I'm in bed, I can't sleep, and I look at my phone and I'm like, I should really reply to this email. And I'm sending emails at like 1, 2 in the morning. So it's challenge. But I think what keeps me going is other people's belief in me as well as I believe in myself. But there's so many people around me who have kind of really been like, you can do this. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I've seen the growth. You are really pushing yourself. So that motivates me to keep going. But also customers and strangers, like people who don't know me, even after Dragon's Den, I had emails from so many people just being like, you are amazing. You knew your facts and figures. You know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. It kind of almost gives the illusion to people that I really know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And, the fact that I have kind of paying customers, like, I think about how valuable money is, and money is very valuable to me growing up in a household where, like I said, I wouldn't say we struggled, but that every bit of money counts. So when people are spending their money with me, that's them giving me a vote of confidence every single time. It's me saying, you know what, I trust you, I like your products, here's £50, and like I said, I know the value of money. That £50 could have been spent anywhere else, especially in a cost of living. There's so many other things. So to spend it with me lets me know that I'm doing something right.
Who have been some of your mentors along the
Yeah.
way? So growing up, who have been your mentors in every single stage? And do you have a mentor right now?
Good question. So I would probably say, obviously, my first mentor was probably my dad in terms of business. That was a good lesson, a good understanding. From there, I think it's just, I've had some really good managers, and I think I learn a lot from the people who manage me. My manager at Foxtons, he was great in terms of how he spoke to people. Like I very much that for a good, especially when I first started, I sat next to him to really understand the industry, how you talk and how you approach certain conversations. And he was great at it. Like he was the person that he was great at diffusing any kind of argument. And with property, it's not really an argument, but it's, people are very highly emotionally challenged, in the sense that you're buying the biggest purchase of your life. And he was just very good at being able to calm people down, give people the facts, and just kind of ease situations. So I feel like communication and how I speak to people, how I deal with customers, I get customers who are unhappy certain times, knowing how to manage that and how to fix and rectify things has been a great lesson. And that's something that he taught me just by, I don't know if he actually knows that he taught me this. I just sat by watching and got to learn that understanding. So I'd say that's something that I definitely took on board. But I very much just learned from the people around me, even working at the university. When I first started the business, I remember having a chat with two of my colleagues at the time, Frank and Martin. And, Martin was talking about setting up his rum company. So he was looking at bottles. And I thought, maybe I should start looking at different bottles for nail polish. So it kind of triggered my thoughts. And then Frank is a business lecturer. So he was always on hand to kind of give different business advice in terms of just general growth, and even from a property point of view, because he was very into property and being like a landlord as well. So he'd always constantly send me different articles about, the way they're taxing landlords and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was a good lesson
Don't we know
for
it?
me. Yeah. Wow, that's the whole conversation in itself. But it's something that, he kind of just mentored me in a different area of my life, because obviously I bought a second property. So that's something that he helped me understand a bit more as well. So
It sounds like you're very aware,
yeah.
and that's so important, because even like when you read the book Alchemist,
Mhm.
when he goes and sees the wizard in the castle, the wizard says, "Here's some oil on a teaspoon, walk around and bring it back without dropping a spill," And he brings it back and he goes, "Look, there you go, done it." And he goes, "Well, did you see my beautiful garden? Did you see my beautiful staircase and paintings?" And he goes, "I'll be back."
He was so focused on
Came
keeping
back
it.
a couple of hours later
Yeah.
and goes, "It was amazing, your garden." And then he goes, "Where's the oil?" So it's just like, life is like that. You gotta balance all the objections and what life brings to you with the task in hand, like your job, but also be vigilant around you to say, "Look, I'm learning this, I've seen that, I've got this in my armor now as well."
Agreed. Yeah, you have to learn from your environment and the people around you. Everyone, I think it goes back to what I said before about not being afraid to speak to people, because they can offer you different things that you never thought you would know. And working in a university and having, someone who's a business lecturer who has a very good understanding of, textbook knowledge of business and how it works, is a great opportunity, something to learn from. So yeah.
Natel, have you ever experienced any sort of racism?
Oh, probably. Trying to think if I've had any direct experience. Probably not direct experience. Now, the reason I say that is it's very subtle. I've always felt like racism in England is very subtle, anyways. So, um, it probably more ventures on just little kind of nuances. Very a good example actually was when I was working at Foxtons, and when you start dealing with people, you speak to people on the phone. Natel is a kind of very neutral name. A lot of people, when I've handed out my CV to people, one thing Natel could be it could be a male name. It's not really common generally. Some people relate it to Natalie, but it's not really common. So Natel could sometimes be perceived as a male name. So they expect a man to show up for an interview, and then they see me, it's very not what they expect. My surname is Allen, so it's a very kind of, again, not really kind of identifying surname. So in some instances, especially when doing property, you speak to people on the phone, arrange a viewing, and they'll walk into the office, because we always get them to come to the office first, and they'll be looking for their estate agent. And what they all do, especially at Foxtons, they used to cover the reception. So I remember I used to sit at the reception, even though, like, obviously I'm an estate agent, right? So they'll come in, they'll be at the reception, be like, "Oh, hey, I'm looking for Natel for my viewing. I'm here to see this property. And it'll be like a really expensive property, like £1 million property."
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "Oh, great." And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to sit down. Just let me know when you've gone to get her." And I'm like, "Oh no, it's me." And they're like, "Oh, you're Natel." And it's always that kind of, "You're Natel." Like, I don't know why, they just kind of never expect it.
It's something like you feel it more
You
than them.
feel it. It's a very subtle element, and it's not necessarily racism. It's just what people perceive. I guess for me, what they perceive Black people to speak like, or how we act, or how we engage. And I've always spoken and been like this, and I'll get told that I sound really posh, or that I get told that I live, I must have a lot of money. Like, none of it's true, but it's just how I speak. And I think it's that nuance of assuming and having that idea that Black people speak a certain way or act a certain way. So
Yes. You didn't by any chance know a guy called David Allen, do you?
David Allen.
He passed away a few years ago as well.
No.
Life
I
is
don't.
short, man. No, because he was from the Caribbean as well. He used to be in my
Oh,
class. And then the word was that he passed away. Like,
that's very
so I was
sad.
just like, the Allen name, and both from Caribbean. Like, maybe you might have known him.
Do you know what's funny? It's possible, because so my mum is from St. Kitts, which is actually, in terms of population, I think it's only like 50,000 people, and
Wow.
500,000? No, 50,000. It's very small levels. And then my dad is from St. Vincent, which is double the size of St. Kitts, which is about maybe 100,000 people, but it's still a very small island. So if they were from those two islands and had the surname Allen, quite possibly they might be family. So yeah,
Yes.
you never know.
Okay. What advice would you give to women entrepreneurs out there?
Just, I think we as women sometimes overthink a lot of things. We kind of question our ability, I think, a lot more. I think men are a lot more brave, in the sense that even if they don't know something about anything, they'll put themselves out there. So I'd say have confidence in the knowledge that you have, and just put yourself out there. Like, you don't have to be perfect to start something. And that is my biggest advice. You just have to want to start and actually put it in motion. I think that's a very important thing, because if I waited until I perfected everything, I probably would only be releasing products now. And you can learn as you go, and you grow. Like, the same bottles that I have now, the design that I have now is not what I started off with. I've changed things a little bit. I've kind of gone in, adjusted things. Obviously, I've updated the website, and everything has got better and better and better. But it's taken learning. It's finding out what people like, what they don't like. Even little things from the website function that people like to be able to see the ingredients and description in kind of one bar, whereas before I had it kind of all separate. Just putting that together made life a lot easier, and people being able to choose different packages and select the colors. It's really understanding how your business works and adjusting to fit it. So yeah.
I mean, there's no price you can put on that experience, is it? So when you've spent money on materials,
Mhm.
and you've taken your time, to try to give somebody else that value, and it hasn't responded, because there's nothing else that's going to teach you more than that you think,
Exactly.
I ain't going to do that again. That I felt that burnt me a little
Yeah.
bit. I'm going to reinvent this and change it up a little bit, make sure that never happens again.
Yeah.
That's something that a book will never teach you.
No, it can't. And you can read as many different books as you like, and a lot of them will help support you in some aspects, but it's never the same for me. And I can't speak for everybody. For me, when it comes to learning, I learn by doing. The best way I learned how to be an estate agent was selling houses, by being in the property, by understanding what people look for, and even the owners kind of saying, hey, really focus on this point of the property because it's XYZ. You take that information in. So yeah, take from your environment.
Natil, how do you measure success?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good question. For me personally, I would measure success when I have an Audi. If you see me driving in an Audi TT, got to be potentially a white one with black rims or black with, kind of blacked out rims, and a nice house in Chigwell. And for me, that is success and not having to worry about money. It's the idea that if I want to go on holiday, work 6 months away, freedom. It's freedom. It's freedom from the daily stresses.
Freedom of your time.
Freedom of my time.
What's your long-term vision?
Long-term vision. So in terms of the business, I still would want to be a massive part of it. I think I just enjoy it. It's not something that, how some people could be like, oh, I'd sell my business and do nothing. I would still want a part of it, but I'd maybe ease my invest in terms of my responsibility into it. So the idea that I could do what I need to do anywhere in the world, I think I'd want that freedom to say, hey, do you know what? I'm going to go spend 6 months in the Caribbean in winter and I'll come back and do stuff here in the summer, and I'll still have the freedom to be able to do that and still have the finances that I'm not necessarily needed to run the business, but I still have a massive part.
Sounds lovely. I'd love to be in the Bahamas
Yeah.
or West Indies,
Somewhere
Sounds
just
like
chilling.
paradise.
I'm not really one for cold weather, so that's the reason.
I want to drink, chop, coconut
literally.
water, boom.
Perfect. Get your laptop out and you can work from the beach and
done.
just sit there and chill. But like I said, I love Telma and I enjoy business. And I think, like I said, I've always wanted to be in business. I just didn't know how that was going to play out. But beyond anything, I think it's more the freedom. And then you probably feel the same in terms of property, because actually it's probably allowed you to do certain things in the freedom that you want to have, that you can pick and choose whether you want to work or not. Like it's that choice. I want to give myself as many choices as possible.
I mean, it's the best decision I ever made. So anyone out there saying, oh, there's these tax rules, changes, this, there's always going to be challenges.
Yeah.
There's always going to be regulations. Regulations are for the good. It'll weed out the bad people. But if you've got a focus, if you've got the right habits in place, and if you know how to put your earned income into assets to create passive income, then it will give you freedom of your time. And what you do with your freedom of your time is up to you. If you want to create another business, if you want to help mentor people, set up different platforms to talk to different people, you can do all of these things. But guess what? If you don't set up your business, if you don't start investing, and you're just going to wish it will just happen, you won't have any options on the table. And that's guaranteed.
I agree. It's just all about, life is all about creating as many options as possible, because, you always want the choice to maneuver how you want to maneuver. Like working like a 9 to 5 and specific, like I said, there's some people who love their job and that's what they choose to do and that's their choice. But I want it to be my choice. I don't want it to be that I have to do it to survive. I want to know that I have other options available to me. And, obviously having a business is one option, working for a company is another option, owning property is another option. And I think actually for me, had I not bought my second property, I wouldn't be able to, I guess, financially have the freedom to kind of work part-time. So at the moment I work part-time and I do the business. So that income is pretty much what's keeping me afloat. If I take all of the money I get from the business and put it directly into itself. So a decision that I made, I bought the flat when I was 30, that one. So that decision has kept me going now and has given me the freedom to be able to do that. So yeah, I guess in the long run, property is still in the background for me. It's not something that I necessarily focus on. I think property is a long game sometimes. Like it can sometimes take you a while to really see the value in it. And obviously, given interest rates now, who knows what that looks like for a lot of people. But right now, it's helped. So,
how do you think AI affects everything?
Joe, I was having this conversation the other day. I'm still interested to see how it will shape everything. I think people are saying that it's going to come and take different jobs and it's going to, I don't know, replace certain aspects of employment.
I've seen on certain documentaries a robotic arm doing dental work with precision. There's robots picking these boxes up, and one of them even collapsed after 12 hours, probably battery died or something.
I think I saw that one actually.
I mean? Yeah. So and not only that, the ability for stop people from thinking also. So you got Chat GPT, Chat Sonic, and you'll say, give me 20 questions for this podcast I'm going to have with somebody who's a woman entrepreneur. Oh, give me 20.
Do you know what? And I used ChatGPT the other day to update my CV and cover letter, and it's really clever. And I mean, I think something like that can be so beneficial when used in the
It
right
does
way.
save time rather than thinking, and you're pushing and prodding, and it will just give you that little, hey, look, oh yeah, I've got an example of that as well. But where does it stop? Because there's going to be a generation who just rely on that now.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same way, I guess, that we rely on Google for so many things. It's going to be ChatGPT's next. That's the next aspect of it. And as new generations come, they will always face new challenges with it. So, our challenge is, Google finding information. And, I think always think of university and think of doing essays and stuff. And you can't reference Google, you have to reference the original source.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT, something like that is going to be even more difficult to do because it's artificial intelligence. There might not be a specific source that they can reference it to. So how do they create filters that confirm that that's not?
Because
Yeah.
now there's like Chat GPT and then another software that you put it in that remodules it even
Yeah.
more to make sure that you don't get done for plagiarism.
That's the
I
word,
mean, Elon Musk, one of the most successful
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, recently just said the biggest problem that we're going to face is boredom. Population's increasing at a phenomenal rate, and jobs are being taken away. There's even in Texas, they've got a McDonald's that's fully automated.
No way.
So there's a machine that tips it over, and a basket is automatically, taken up. There's an arm that gives the food out. It's all fully, because the biggest thing is, what did they always used to talk about McDonald's? Labor, labor. So McDonald's are so good with their processes to make it efficient, but the only thing was people who are driving up labor or making human errors. These machines won't now, and they've actually trialed that out. And once it's test piloted somebody else somewhere, yes, there is an investment, but this is what these companies do. McDonald's are one of the biggest realtors. They own the land,
They do.
so that's where they're actually making most of their money. So what's your thoughts on Buddhism?
Do you know what? I think it's just it's so difficult to predict how that's going to affect jobs. Like if you've got someone at McDonald's who drops the basket of fries down, you don't need a person to do it, and actually you're saving a lot more money on the cost. So I think as jobs, like it's just going to reduce the amount, like the same way with the checkouts, even at Tesco's, where you've now only got one person that manages 10 people who are purchasing, because actually they can just scan their own items themselves. It's cutting money, but
Okay, so let's put it like this, Natil. Like your nail varnish are handmade. How do you scale that? It goes viral. One of your videos go viral, and one actress right now, she's going like this and going, this is actually amazing. Boom, you getting orders through your doors, and it's like, oh shit, like, and then somebody comes and say, look, I've got a machine for you.
Yeah.
You can mix this up. Yes, there's an investment, but if you've got that order right now, you'll have this machinery paid for. Or you decide to employ people to do that for you. You'll have to have contracts in front of you, health and safety all of a sudden, and labor, and you have to also handle human errors and how long things take. How are you gonna adjust to that?
So as you say, machinery is the key part, and that's the whole part of scaling. Is the idea for me, and how I would look at what I want to do next is I'd rather get a supplier who can create the products in the factory and facilities they already have. I mix the colors just to show them as like a kind of, hey, these are the colors that I've made. Can you replicate this? I need it in 1,000 bottles in this many batches. Replicate it for me, send it back to me, or send it to a fulfillment center. Fulfillment center has all my packaging, logos, everything I'd put in the post. They send that out to the customers. It'll take a big hit in price in terms of the cost I get. Obviously, selling as they are now, me making it, I get the most, I guess, percentage out of it because I've purposely done it that way, because this was, I'm trying to get my money back that I've spent, i.e., for certain things. So me getting the biggest markup makes the most sense. However, if it then becomes a business where I'm able to hand over a lot of the tasks and responsibilities, I might get less, but if it's more consistent and on a larger scale, then I'm fine with that too. So that's how I would do it. I think with humans, as you say, human error is very important, but the difference is with working with people is that they have the ability to, if they see something that's not right or not kind of within I guess, AI technology. I don't know how far AI technology will go, but it's the idea that actually if someone wants their order quickly, they can maybe prioritize that in a way that, okay, I see something's not right. Let me take this out of the production line. Let me go and amend this and bring it back. So it's the idea that maybe some aspects can't be identified by a robot. It has to be a human that kind of realizes it. So yeah.
Natel, what inspires you?
Oof. I think the people around me really do. Seeing just people day in, day out, kind of doing their day to day, looking after their families, their kids, like everything is difficult for a lot of people. Like none of us or people around me are like born into, crazy amounts of wealth. So a lot of people around me have had to build themselves up to where they are now. The house they've had to work very hard, they've had to get good jobs, or they've had to, run businesses in a way that benefits them. So seeing them do that day in, day out definitely inspires me. I think my mum and my dad definitely inspired me the most. My mum has been a nurse for many, many years, and we know that they don't get paid a lot of money, but every day, because she loves it, it's what she does. She goes in and she gets it done and she comes back. So I think it's just that dedication and love for us as well. So,
Amazing. Is there any question you wish I asked you?
oh, I feel like I've covered a lot.
You have.
That's a really good question. That's thrown me. Actually, it's actually thrown me a little bit, because what would I want someone to ask me about? I guess I would want someone to ask me, like, how hard has it been? And like, well, you kind of have asked me that. It's just, I think it's so easy to see things on social media and on social media be like, she's doing really, really well. I guess actually maybe the emotional impact of that is quite a lot. Like the emotional impact of running a business drains you a lot more than you realize sometimes. I think you take everything just a little bit personally sometimes. Like if someone's not happy with their order, I have to kind of almost refrain myself from being like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Like, oh no, I can't do this anymore. Maybe I should just give up. Every single time I get something wrong. So I guess what I would want people to ask or to understand sometimes is that, it is a person behind this business. I'm not technology. As you say, I will make mistakes. There are human errors involved. And yeah, I think it's understanding the emotional impact of running a business. But I think most people have been really understanding and loving and kind and sent very nice messages. But there's always going to be one or two, who blame you for not receiving their package on time when really you should be talking to Royal Mail. It's that kind of conversation.
Nice. And finally, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, yeah, I do have a couple actually. I was going to save them to the end. But when it comes to property, because obviously I am a massive fan of how you've built and grown your property company and business. And, is there anything that you've done now that you would have done differently? Or, sorry, is there anything that you've done that you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
To be honest, even though I bought my first one at 21, even start earlier.
Yeah, no, same. I would think the same.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, can I do this? Should I do this? And I was asking too many people.
Mm,
But you got to realize that people only tell you with their thoughts and what they think is correct and right. Um, but I didn't get it too far wrong.
no.
And I was very, very, very fortunate that I had the right mentorship.
Hmm.
I came from a business family. My granddad came here in the 60s
Hmm.
from nothing, and they built the shop by the 80s. And from the shop, my dad started investing in his properties in the 90s that I'd help him with. So I saw everything firsthand. It was like being on a practical course.
Hmm.
So as soon as I had money, I knew what to do with it because I saw certain accounts. I'm like, the shop account's got 4 or 5 grand in it, but that property account, all right, it's him and uncle, but it's got 70 grand in it. I want to do what that. I'm not going to run a shop and do 7 days a week. I'd rather do that's where my fortune was. That's where my luck was. That I had the opportunity to be disciplined and what you spending your money on. Let me see your account. There was no privacy. There wasn't even a lock on your door. To be honest, like it was very strict.
Hmm.
And for certain friends of mine in different households, they'll be like, "Oh, I could never do what you do, and that's not fair. That's not right. What's going on with you?" But look at the results. So
So do you feel like being open about finances really kind of contributed to, yeah?
100%, you've got to because then you're openly hearing about, how much you're spending. So I remember there was 1 or 2 months I bought one house, and it was in Dagenham as well, RM9 Becontree.
No.
And I was like, look, this ain't gonna make a difference, if I save this or not. It still isn't enough for a deposit. So 1 month, I decided to enjoy myself. 1 month, and I was like, I'm gonna go all out. I bought the track suits I wanted,
Yeah.
and I was in, bars and restaurants with my friends, and it was like, wow, that's what it feels like to spend 2.5 grand. Like, to me, it lasted forever, and I was like, it's still not up to 2.5 grand. And then by the end of it, I just had this subconscious feeling, and like feeling of what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you've got a few nice tracksuits, but a couple of them you don't even like. You just thought you'd get a different color. It felt right at the time. Um, it's not fun going out anymore because you're around the same people, and it's not like, oh, we're catching up after a week's work. It's like it's becoming a little bit annoying. And I was just like, what are you doing? Don't ever do that again. And I just went, get back on your train, get back on your tracks, and let's just like, focus on that mission again. And I felt good again. And I feel that I was conditioned, heavily conditioned. Every time I earned money, like from the cash and carry at 13 and 14, I'd open the brand packet and I'd be like, here you go, mum, like, it's my wages. But I used to do my side hustle, which was like pack the vehicles. When I was packing the vehicles up, they would give me £5 and I'd make sure I'd earn 40 quid, otherwise I weren't going home. I'd stay home for a little bit. Let me just do these last, like, loading these vehicles. And that's where I think, my training was done at 13, 14. At 21, I hit the ground running. When a lot of people, when I see them at 22, 24, what do you think I should do? It's like they just haven't had that teaching. So this is what we're trying to do right now, is saying, well, let me come on social media. Let me start sparking some ideas in your head. This is what you can do. This is how that works. All right, you might need an actual mentor to help put you through. But if some of these things are inspiring you now and is interesting you, then come on board, because these are the people you need to be around. These are the right circles. Because I was fortunate to have that with my granddad and my dad. So I'm giving this through me. Like, you get me. And guess what? I'm 2.0. I've done a degree. I've worked in McDonald's and Barclays, and I've been a builder for 6 years. And I've got it, bought the t-shirt, the lot. So come on board with me and I'll give you the right tablet, with a compounded effect. So what more can we give than that?
I agree. And I was going to say, what motivates you to do that, or kind of want to help other people as well?
I suppose it comes to a stage where money has no meaning anymore. You've got a nice pad, you got the cars that you want, you got a nice family. So what else do you work for? Because then, from growing up in all of these little side hustles, family businesses, and you're doing 7 days a week, to go to nothing, that can almost be hell. There was a test done about the youngest girl who played chess. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard yet, but I won't get this fully right. But basically, people said that's so cruel that she's 9 years old and she's the youngest world champion. How sad. But when they done a study, her two older sisters were also like the national champion and one of the other first champions. But when you ask them, it was actually their father was stopping them from playing chess while they're in the toilet at midnight because they really enjoyed it. So it all depends on your environment.
True.
If they see their mum playing chess, their dad playing chess, and it's something in the family, it's normal. It's your
what they know.
environment. Is you enjoy doing these things. When somebody goes, poor you, no, it isn't poor me. I've enjoyed this. And same things when people go, oh, you haven't had a life. You haven't enjoyed yourself. Actually, we have. We just know how to balance that. And we know when we need to get up for work, we get up for work and we go like soldiers. But when it's time to play, then we can play as well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know,
I think that's it. That's the motivation part.
got to be just disciplined. And I'm happy that I have this idea of a podcast right now and interviewing people and influencing, because this now gives me a purpose again. And I need my why. This is my why. I get up in the morning because I need to go and film a podcast. I need to get somebody else's message out. Maybe something you've said today, Natel, is going to save someone's life. It's someone who's going through a tough time in their business and go, do you know what? I'm getting up right now. I'm going to start making a go of my business because this has impact. And if more of us thought like this, the world would be a lot different place.
I agree. I think it's just so important to speak about your journey, because I think also that prompts people. I'd never thought about buying a property until I saw someone else do it, basically. So those kind of decisions are made by what you see. And I think you always, as you said, about being aware and just taking in from the environment. And, with your family, something similar that we do in our family, we talk a lot about finances. We talk about, we're going to open a new saving account here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So that openness.
Why not?
It's important because that motivates me. My brother is an amazing saver. He's very, very disciplined with his money. I feel like I used to be good, and I think I've got worse. I've got older, but he's still very good at that. And sometimes it brings me to remind me, actually, do you know what? Natel, stop spending. Or Natel, you need to get this together. So having those conversations, I think, is very important, and staying open about that. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Natel, look, I'm just going to say big thank you for coming on the show and sharing as much as you have. If you could just look straight into your camera and just let everybody know how they can follow you and maybe go on your website, etc., that some of the things that you offer.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram. So Instagram is just Tellemoi, so TELLEMOI. But also the same handle for TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest as well. I'm trying to think what other platforms we're on. And also, if you want to actually buy the products, go to www.tellemoi.co.uk. And that's every platform. Yeah.
Is it just nail varnish you offer?
So we do quite a bit. We do nail varnish, nail polish, gel polish. We do gel lamps, LED gel lamps. We do nail art brushes, chrome powders, accessories. So yeah, it's growing. So yeah, a multitude of products.
There we go, guys. Another great podcast. I hope that brought you a lot of value. Girls, we want you on the show. Natel's been the third or fourth female guest, but we don't shy away from anyone. So make sure, you drop me a DM and let me know if you want to come on the show, or if you think that I should be reaching out to somebody else through your circle. More than happy to have you guys on. Don't forget to like, comment, share, smash the bell notification so you don't miss another one. But I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.